All right, story time about the Lamictal. Um, so I've been no contact with my mother for years now, and with B. Um, I have no idea what they're up to in life. I don't really care. I want the best for them. I just don't want to be a part of that. I can't. Um, I've been with Keeb for years at this point, and I still can't let his family be nice to me because if you grew up without that kind of warmth or love, it feels like holding your hands in ice water for an hour and then running them under scalding hot water. That is, I write, like I said, I speak in analogies sometimes, but that's what it felt like. Um, and so when I started this Lamictal, um, the symptom that I experienced first was that my mood swings within weeks of the Lamictal had completely disappeared. I was level thinking. I was able to breathe. Um, I was slightly manic at all times, and so I wasn't sleeping 12 hours. I was able to do things. I was able to have hobbies, and I had energy to talk to people and do things. Like do fun things. Like I meant like do things like like explore. You know what I mean? Like exercise. And so at first I was like, hell yeah, this is great medication for me, brother. Um, and then my sleeping began to dwindle. And I went from sleeping 12 hours immediately when I started this medication, it was to 8, which is normal. But then as the med kicked in, it went from 8 to 7, 7 to 6, 6 to 5, 5 to 4, 4 to 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 1, 1, 1, nothing. And alongside that, um, rather than having a big appetite, overnight my appetite disappeared. So I couldn't eat anything. I wasn't ever hungry. I wasn't ever tired. When I tried to sleep, in that first while, I would lay there, and right as I was about to fall asleep, it was like someone flipped a switch, like a light switch, and my entire body just like overcame like with humming. Like my skin began to hum with so much energy, like I had just injected pure caffeine into my veins. Um, and so I was combating that without sleeping medication. And I was being stubborn because in my head I was like, you're not having mood swings. This is everything you've ever wanted. Why are you complaining? Um, so it was a really hard year. And as the year went on, it got worse. Um, I kept talking to my prescriber and she kept telling me like, oh, you just need to let the side effects wear down. You just need to let them wear down. It's working. Um, but then the anxiety started to spike. And within 2 months, I was maxed out on my Buspirone. And it wasn't helping. I was grinding my teeth. One day I ground my teeth so hard that one of my back teeth chipped. Um, and I knew that I needed help after I went 72 hours without sleeping. And then I ended up working a 14-hour shift on no sleep and no food. And so I spoke with her, and she prescribed a sleeping pill. Um, but it was a sleeping pill that can badly affect bipolar disorder. And it didn't make me fall asleep. So instead of falling asleep, it sent me spiraling into such an intense depressive episode um, that by the time I had finished work the next day, because this was not long after that, and it'd been 24 hours going into a weekend shift this time, and I had spent all 12 hours of that shift concocting a plan. So by the time I got home, I had a plan, I had a method, I had a list of things that I had to do so Keeb would be safe, a list of goodbye letters, and I just completely stopped talking to everyone. I didn't even talk to Keeb about it. I just was quiet. I just laid down. I was just, and in my head, I genuinely believed it. I was like, you deserve to die. You never deserve to have been born in the first place. Um, so the plan was going to take place that following weekend because Keeb was going to visit his family. And we decided that I wouldn't go because I wasn't sleeping or eating. Um, and I think I just needed the space to be that alone. And that space turned into a suicide plan. Now, John is one of the people I still talk to every single day, and he would not let me be quiet because when we don't respond to each other, this typically means something's wrong. And so he reached out multiple times, and I finally responded to him, and he coaxed out the fact that I was not doing well, and that I had this plan, and that I was scared, um, and I didn't know what to do, and I knew it was bad, and he was there for me. He would sit with me overnight when I couldn't sleep, even though he had to work the next day. It was a really hard time in my life. Um, so obviously I never took that sleeping pill again. But the side effects messed me up for weeks of just knowing, like, I became so emotionally self-aware at any given point that I could tell when I was going into a mood swing. I could tell what actions I needed to do to mediate myself, to calm myself down. Um, but not with this. This was like I was a teenage girl all over again, and I had this sickeningly prominent thought of, like, genuinely being in the thick of it, believing with my whole being that that's the truth, that I deserve to die, that I should commit suicide, that I hurt my mother, that I hurt B, that I just cause suffering everywhere I go, and that I should have never come out of that small little box that I stuffed myself into all those years ago to make room for everybody else. And instead of having to do that, when I spoke with John, that gave me the courage to speak with Keeb. And it's the wildest thing because neither of them judged me. Neither of them were angry. Neither of them felt anything beyond concern. But they never, like, told me how to feel. You know what I mean? Like, they never made me feel or do a certain thing. They just let me feel it. They let me talk about it. They let me repeatedly talk about it, by the way. Um, they let me take up that space. They didn't let me go back in the box. I tried another sleeping pill, hydroxyzine, um, and it made it so scary to sleep because it slowed my heart rate down to the point that I would wake up on the brink of sleep because I thought I was dying. Um, I finally found, I think after a couple more attempts, those are the two ones I had brutal side effects for. And yes, I tried melatonin. I tried pretty much any method of not prescription medication you could think of to sleep, and none of them worked. Like I said, the buspirone was maxed out. I had to up the dose. I was taking 100 milligrams of Lamictal, um, and uh, I still wasn't sleeping or mentally well, I should say. So finally, I found a sleeping pill that worked for me. Seroquel is another mood stabilizer, which just basically doubled down on the fact that I don't have mood swings. Just breathe, right? So I was sleeping again, right? And I was sleeping like good sleep, guys. Like I was sleeping deep. I was sleeping hard. I woke up rested, like completely 180. Like I was doing phenomenal. But the issue is that like now that I was sleeping and I had the energy for other emotions, my anxiety came back full force, to the point that I could no longer function or breathe. Again, resorting back to the version of myself that was in middle school, high school. And so I spoke with my prescriber and my therapist, who knew my story. Um, my newest therapist, her name was Susan. And she was like, I've been sitting on this thought for a while, but I'm pretty sure you have CTPSD. CPTSD. I don't know. Letters are hard to spell sometimes. But I'm just kidding. I don't know. Um, and that honestly was something I had never even considered as a possibility. That I could have any form of PTSD. Um, but she was labeling symptoms. She was labeling mannerisms I had. Like, I was like, Susan, you're full of shit. And she came in for the clutch. She was like, nope, it's this, 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 this. This is what your behavior is called. This is what this behavior is called. And so suddenly, for the first time in my life, and by the way, this was like 6 months ago. This wasn't even that long ago now. And so for the first time in my life, I finally had these names for these mannerisms I had that I'd always chalked up to character flaws. And Susan gave me that, and she gave me that kindness again that I was so foreign to. And she gave me comfort, and she told me I was strong, and she told me I was resilient, and I didn't believe her. Um, but I kept doing that thing of putting someone else in my shoes, and the result was still the same. And so finally, um, those thoughts were corralled into a single thought of like, I was abused, I was neglected, I was sexually assaulted, and I was mentally unwell. Um, which is a really, really hard thing to accept, especially because I found out months before that my mother has metastatic cancer. Um, I will make a separate video for that, but I feel like I need space to not talk about it right now. So I will do that later. Um, the best thing that came out of last year, um, while I was sitting in the lack of appetite and the lack of sleep, I had a dream once, and all I remembered from that dream was a snippet, a little picture in my head. And that snippet turned into the very first book I would ever write and finish. And I did so in exactly 4 weeks. Um, it's under an alias, but honestly, I'm so proud of it. I don't even know if that's the right call anymore. So that's what I was referring to a couple videos ago. It's almost published. So anyway, that's enough depressing stuff for the day. I think I'm gonna go try and touch some grass or something. Y'all have a happy Sunday.